Hey everybody, had a bit of a hectic day today, so all we're really going to have time for is a feeding video here of my native tank, but that's alright. I do want to try to get some more video of this tank while I can. I thought about getting in here today and starting to make some changes to it, but I didn't really have time to push some of these plants out of the way so I can get the area open for the food to go in. Of course, the fish are already biting at my fingertips. So we're going to start with just a bunch of flake food. I'll let that swirl around the tank and do its thing for a while, then we'll come back and we'll throw some algae wafers in there that go to the bottom. And I know that's a lot of food, but that'll give the tank something to do for a few minutes while I go around and feed the rest of the fish room. I'm going to have to investigate my waterfall tank. It's making sort of rhythmic pulses of water. A lot of water sounds like it's all splashing out one way, and then it slows down and the volume calms down, then all of a sudden there's a big surge of water again. I'm not sure what's going on with it. As I said, I've had a bit of a hectic day. I'm just kind of getting in here now. I want to run around the room and throw some food in the tanks. So that'll be round one. And now I'm going to throw some algae wafers in there, although I'm running really low on algae wafers. Apparently I'm going to need to order some more. The algae wafers I generally throw in the two ends. I'll try to throw them a little more towards the middle. But the suckerfish that hang out on the bottom, who the algae wafers are really going in there for, tend to stay all the way down at the far end here on the left. And then I've also got that big pleco in here, that gold spot pleco, that tends to hang out all the way over here on the right hand side of the tank. And so I always like to throw some algae wafers down this end too. So as I started to say, I've given a little more thought to what I want to do with this tank. I really thought about getting in here today with my big net. I actually had the net in my hand. I'm cleaning out my old truck. It's getting taken out of here tomorrow, and so I was out today cleaning out all my old junk out of the back seat and everything, and I had that net in my hand. I really thought about coming in here and at least beginning, making a preliminary scoop and getting a handful of those fish out of there, and I can start working on reducing that population a little bit. My only real concern, I'm not sure what I'm going to do about the cichlid. I've been told by some viewers that being that the tilapia is in fact a cichlid, it's going to try to eat the smaller fish and whatnot, and I don't remember ever seeing the behavior of it eating smaller fish in the tank, even when I had the smaller minnows in here. The creek chubs went after them, of course the sunfish will go after them. I don't ever remember seeing that tilapia being aggressive towards the smaller fish, and it seems to me that all that tilapia really is interested in is eating vegetation. But again, it's a cichlid, so that's something that isn't right there. If that is a full-grown cichlid like that, and I try putting minnows in the tank, everything in my brain's telling me that they're going to be some, it's going to be fish food. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I might clear everybody out and then try putting some small fish, some just, a handful of gambusia or something in the tank, and see what happens. If the tilapia winds up leaving them alone and not bothering with them, then maybe we can go from there. But I really don't have an alternative tank to put the tilapia in. It's a lot bigger than I think people realize. And the only tank I could theoretically put it in right now would be my gudgeon tank, simply because the tilapia is big enough that if the gudgeon wanted to fight with it, it wouldn't be able to do anything to it. But again, I don't want it in there fighting. I don't want it to just to be able to survive the harassment, or vice versa. I don't want it to be harassing the other fish. So, you know, even if that gudgeon wasn't in the tank, just to put that size fish in a 40-gallon tank, just, I don't know, that's a lot of fish for a 40-gallon tank. Even if it was in there by itself, it just wouldn't have room to move. It's a lot bigger, I think, than people realize. So the tilapia is probably just staying in this tank. The only alternative would be to get rid of it. And as I said in a previous video, I've really sort of grown fond of it. It was given to me kind of by accident. One of my viewers down in Florida at the time sent me a care package with a bunch of plants and a bunch of fish that they caught locally in the canal behind their house. Well, of course, the canals in Florida are riddled with non-native fish, and what I got sent was a warmouth sunfish, which is what I wanted, and that one unfortunately died. But I also got a Mayan cichlid, which was really aggressive. I wound up giving that to a friend of mine who still has it and is still alive and well. And then this spotted tilapia was the third of the 3 fish he sent me. And while I had no intention of actually getting a spotted tilapia, I got it. And, you know, by the time it grew a little bigger and I started investigating what it was and found out that that's definitely not a sunfish, you know, I've had it. I've had it for years now. It's full grown as far as I can tell, unless it's one of those fish that lives 40 years and it's just going to slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger. But at its current size, it needs to be, I would say minimum would be a 55-gallon tank. And even a 55 is a little narrow, you know, front to back, or shallow, I should say, front to back. And, you know, that fish would barely have enough room to turn around in a 55. And, it, you know, lengthwise, end to end would be fine. But it would basically be, you know, almost touching the front and back of the tank if it turned around in a 55. So, again, my only real options for the tilapia are either leave it where it is and sort of work the tank around the fact that there's a tilapia in there, or take it to the fish store and get rid of it. And I don't really want to do that. That's not really an option that I want to do. So I've got options at this point. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap that up and call that the end of the feeding video, since no more real activities going on in there. And then I still got plenty I got to get done this evening. And it's already almost 9 o'clock. So I'm going to go and say thanks for watching. Let me get around the other side of the camera so I can turn it off without walking in front of it. I'm going to say make sure you subscribe. That way you won't miss anything I got coming up. Don't forget, this one here is my 125-gallon native tank. It should be going through some changes here real soon. And I think you're going to like what I'm eventually going to wind up doing with this. So if you're subscribed, you won't miss that or anything else. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you real soon in the next one.